The United States needs to establish a domestic climate plan soon. Policies and taxes and trade programs have been in the works for years, yet nothing has been done on them for the most part. Our planet is in a climate emergency at this point, and there's no more reversing the damage that we've done. There's only slowing it down so that we can hope that our grandchildren one day can live on the same beautiful planet that we do now. A lot of ideas have been suggested to help reduce the emissions and pollution that we do to our planet here in the United States, such as a carbon tax, a cap and trade program, or a national renewable portfolio standard. I personally think the national renewable portfolio standard is the way to go out of these options, but all of them have their pros and cons. At the end of it, I think that corporations need to be held responsible for the damage that they do, as a lot of pollution and just environmental impact is often, I feel like, pushed on the consumer, and almost we're put at fault for it when it's really the bigger corporations are the ones choosing to take more lucrative paths instead of paths that are better for the environment. So that's where the carbon tax comes in. The carbon tax is slow. It's a fee for burning carbon-based fuels, and that's the problem that we run into, is that they're just going to charge more money. They have not established where this money is necessarily going to go, and that's not stopping the corporations from using these kinds of fuels. That's just making them pay more money for it. And while they do care a lot about money, and that's usually the main driver, they have money to keep going for at least a while. They're not going to want to change their ways like right away. They're going to be like, okay, just another tax on me. I make billions in profits already. I just feel like it's going to be slow, and by the time companies are actually like, okay, I don't want to pay this bill anymore, it'll be too late, and renewable energy is going to be less available because we're killing it all. Next is the cap and trade program, which is a market-based approach, which I also think has a lot of flaws. Trading who gets to pollute the earth is just delaying action, and I feel like complicating things. It would take a very long time to set up the bounds of a trade market like this, how shares are split, and all those things that we do not have the time for. I cannot stress it enough how much of a time crunch we are under for figuring out a solution to this climate crisis. The cap and trade programs also only target certain emissions. All need to be addressed. In impoverished and low income areas, often plants where these pollutants are put out, like that's where they're placed. And so if you only place taxes on a few of them, those areas are just going to continue to get more and more eroded with pollution and toxic chemicals that these companies are putting out. So just being able to trade some of your emissions around isn't solving anything. It's just taking all your bad cards and shuffling them. Again, I don't think that this is going to do anything for the climate emergency that we have. Steadily reducing isn't good enough. We need it now. My favorite, though, out of the three that have been discussed is the National Renewable Portfolio Standard. So this is a mandate to increase the production of all renewable energy, which is great because you are telling them what they need to start doing as opposed to what they need to stop doing, which I feel like is going to be very helpful in this fight for a healthy planet, is to help people do what they need to do to become more eco-friendly. Telling them just to stop doing what they're already doing, I feel like Americans are stubborn-headed and it's not going to work that well. But 30 states have already implemented them with varying ranges from 10% to 100% renewable energy targets. This is also another cool thing about a renewable portfolio standard, is that at least now, as it's being implemented into some states, it's variable because not all states have the resources to do these renewable energy things quite yet. And so it's great that there's flexibility in there, yet making it a national renewable portfolio standard would make it so that every state is complying with these laws and that there isn't so much wiggle room, so that while wiggle room is good, again, we're under a crunch. everybody needs to work together. So the cost should be allocated fairly as far as getting the supplies that you need to start up more renewable energy sources and stuff like that. And they'll be imposing, this would impose penalties upon those who don't follow guidelines. The other ones would also impose penalties, but I feel like, again, the supplying of what you need to do the renewable energy to make this energy clean is a big, big part of it, as opposed to just restrictions, because restrictions often just don't go where you need them to go. So, in conclusion, I think that while not all of these ideas are the best way and maybe the fastest way, they are ideas, and that is a step in the right direction, and talking about them is a step in the right direction. So I feel like at the end of it, we all need to be held responsible for our climate impact, but especially those at the top.